Is Gemini 3 now scanning all uploaded YouTube videos for intent specifically to combat misinformation? Listen to what it says. While Google hasn't officially used the phrase scanning for intent to combat misinformation as a single marketing slogan, the rollout of Gemini 3.1 Pro in February 2026 makes it clear that the technology is now being used exactly for that purpose.
What? I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time, got no filter, I got no filter, no filter, I got no filter, no filter, I got no filter, no filter, I got no filter.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I want to actually do a very quick video today. I swear I'm going to try to make it quick.
You sure about that?
But I want to go over some policy changes here at YouTube that impact the nutrition community, specifically the carnivore community, because I think it's very important. These changes, the most recent, rolled out in February of 2026, so very recent. Some of these connect back to changes that were from 2023, but I just want to read over them and make people aware of this. And there's something in particular that I want to point out that is very concerning. So just to make everybody aware, you might already know about this. If you do, then, just ignore me or whatever. There's been a lot of changes and some of them are very general and across the board. Other things seem to have slipped past that are very concerning. So there's been a lot of creators in this space, in our space, who are experiencing lower views, just weird. And it's weird. It's not like, okay, I mean, you never know when YouTube, like if you put out a video, like it's going to do good, it's going to do bad, like it's hard to tell, but there's trending going on that's very concerning from a lot of people, And I've noticed it on their views, particularly when you're just looking at views in general. You're seeing like watch hours are high, views are low. It's a very strange combination to see. So usually, have high watch hours and you have high CTR, and then it kind of goes hand in hand with other metrics, but the view metrics not matching up, and it was very odd. And I didn't know, could be just, I don't know, the videos I did or the push or whatever. But if they're actually trying to shadow ban it, I guess that's the right term for it, when it gets out to browse, then because of whatever the subject matter is, that's when you got to worry about stuff, right? Okay, so first of all, I need to state that Gemini has updated to 3.1 this month. That was very recent, and this is directly related to what I'm going to talk about. Before that, it was Gemini whatever, and I've been using Gemini for a while. We're old buddies, it's very convenient. You can do spell checking, you can look up any kind of information, it's just very handy to have. But I didn't realize that Gemini 3.1 was released and that there were this many changes with it. It's pretty significant. But I have to go back a little bit, first of all, to set up some groundwork. And a lot of this stuff you've heard before, but trust me, I'm getting to something very different and very concerning in a few minutes. But here, I asked Gemini 3.1 to define these three terms with respect to YouTube's new policy update from February: prevention, treatment, and denial. So in August of 2023, YouTube announced a major overhaul of its medical misinformation policies to streamline dozens of existing guidelines into three simplified categories: prevention, treatment, and denial. These policies were fully integrated and refined in early 2024, specifically by February, coinciding with the retirement of standalone COVID-19 policies to ensure a consistent framework across all high-risk health conditions. If you remember, go back a little bit and remember that we were heavily censored back in 2020, 2021, all of that. You probably remember you couldn't say the words. Here is how YouTube defines these terms. Prevention misinformation, number one. The category focuses on content that contradicts guidance from local health authorities, LHA, or the World Health Organization regarding how to avoid contracting or spreading specific diseases. Key focus: transmission prevention methods and vaccine safety efficacy. Violations include claims that currently approved and administered vaccines are ineffective, dangerous, or contain tracking devices. Promotion of harmful substances or practices as a way to prevent disease, claiming a specific chemical prevents infection when health authorities say otherwise, and we've heard all this before. Content that contradicts official guidance on the transmission of specific health conditions. 2. Treatment misinformation. This category covers content that promotes harmful or unproven remedies in place of seeking professional medical care for specific conditions. Key focus: promoting cures that are not medically approved or discouraging life-saving treatment. Now, a lot of this we've heard before too. Violations include promoting specific harmful substances or practices that have not yet been approved by health authorities, promoting cesium chloride as a cure for cancer, for example, discouraging viewers from seeking professional medical treatment for serious conditions, claims that alternative treatments are safer or more effective than approved treatments, claiming juicing cures cancer or suggesting vitamin C as a replacement for chemotherapy, for example. Again, we've heard all this kind of thing before. Number 3, denial misinformation. This category addresses content that disputes the very existence of all specific health conditions or their impact, the reality and severity of public health crises or chronic conditions. Violations include claims that a specific disease does not exist, claims that people have not died from a disease that is recognized as a public health emergency, denying the addictive or harmful properties of a substance like nicotine or tobacco, claiming tobacco does not cause cancer. YouTube applies these rules primarily to conditions that pose high public risk, have stable consensus from health authorities, and are prone to misinformation. They do, however, allow for EDSA, educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic. For example, a video of public hearing or a public candidate's speech may remain on the platform even if it contains misinformation, provided it includes sufficient context or is clearly presented for public interest or debate. Okay, now I know a lot of this is rehashing, but I just had to go over that first. So the second thing I asked Gemini is, how does the YouTube policy shift from 2026 actually affect the carnivore diet and influencers? In early 2026, the landscape for health and nutrition content on YouTube shifted significantly and was driven by a major update to the U.S. Dietary Guidelines 2025 to 2030 and subsequent adjustments to how YouTube enforces its medical misinformation and ad-friendly content policies. For the carnivore diet community, these updates represent a double-edged sword. On the one hand, federal guidelines now more closely align with high-protein, low-carb advocacy. But on the other hand, YouTube's enforcement mechanisms for misinformation have become more automated and strict. Federal policy shift: the inverted food pyramid. On January 7, 2026, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the USDA released the new dietary guidelines. This is the primary local health authority, LHA. This is important. Like, that term is like the gatekeeper, basically. Source: YouTube uses to determine what is misinformation. The big change: the guideline effectively flipped the traditional food pyramid. The new framework emphasizes whole food animal proteins and healthy fats, including full-fat dairy and beef tallow, while declaring a war on ultra-processed foods. We all know this. The carnivore impact: because the LHA now acknowledges high-protein, meat-heavy diets as a legitimate framework for real food, content advocating for these foods is less likely to be flagged as prevention misinformation, claims that contradict health authority guidance on preventing disease. So this part is very concerning. This is where it begins, and it's part 2 of the changes that happened in 2026 February. YouTube medical misinformation policy, February 26. YouTube streamlined its health policies into 3 pillars: prevention, treatment, and denial. For carnivore creators, the treatment pillar is the most dangerous zone. The cure trap. Under the February 2026 enforcement rules, YouTube will remove content that claims a specific diet like carnivore or keto can cure chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, or schizophrenia in place of approved medical treatments. Think about that for a minute. We all know that we don't claim that we can cure anything when you're a content creator. Like, we don't make those claims, okay? But think about intent of what it is that we say on a daily basis and advocate for. Just think about that for a minute. Contradicting LHAs. Even though the new guidelines favor meat, the policy states that content discouraging viewers from seeking professional medical treatment or claiming that a diet is safer than chemotherapy, which nobody does, remains a strikeable offense. Pattern of behavior. YouTube now monitors for a pattern of promoting medical misinformation. A single video might get a warning, but a channel consistently claiming meat cures everything without clinical context may face termination. Ad-friendly content and controversial issues. January 2026. In January 2026, YouTube updated its advertiser-friendly content guidelines to be more lenient on controversial issues while being stricter on ED. I'm not even gonna go over that part here, because we all know that, like, I mean, I'm reading Gemini. So Gemini, if you're listening to me, I'm reading you. So this is your response. So anyway, it goes over here. Yellow icon relief. Creators can now earn ad revenue on videos discussing controversial health topics like seed oils or metabolic health, as long as the discussion is non-graphical and educational. And then you have this, which I'm not going to go into because that's not the point of what I'm talking about today. Key takeaways for your audience. While the government has moved closer to the carnivore philosophy, YouTube has simultaneously sharpened its misinformation tools. The safest path for creators in 2026 is to focus on personal experience and nutrient density rather than making definitive medical cure claims that contradict the treatment pillar of the policy. Okay, so that's important to note. Now, what is very different, because a lot of people might look at this and go, oh, it's just, it's just same old YouTube stuff. Now, I was around in 2014 for Gamergate, okay, and I saw that unfold. I saw Adpocalypse, all right, different genre of YouTube or whatever. So I was around for a lot of this stuff. Now, what I feel like this is mission creep. Okay, the best way I can describe this mission creep is that when I was on Carrie Mann's show and Dave Mack's show for the first time in October 2024, I gave this scenario. I said, well, what I feel like right now is that we're a gnat, this community of people that I've come to actually adore. I love a lot of you guys. I honestly do. And I love this community, and it's been so helpful to me. But what I felt like is, at the time, is we're a gnat. We're a nuisance. We're kind of being swatted. But that with all of the advancements and of this community and how it's grown, that eventually we would become a fly, which would require a fly swatter. We need a tool to actually take care of the problem, right? And then eventually we're going to turn into like a hawk or something, and then we're going to be more of a problem. So from a regulatory perspective, and that's what I am a quality assurance and regulatory affairs director. I have worked with inside of regulations for years and years. And I've seen mission creep when it comes to regulations. I've seen them for negative things. I've seen them go in a positive direction. But when I read this, so you have the treatment, the denial thing, and the other one, the prevention. That phrasing is like regulatory language. It's kind of like, and they have definitions, right? So it's kind of like safe, pure, and effective. Those things mean something, and they're defined within the CFR. So it just reminds me of that, the way that this is laid out. Now, the concerning thing, the big deal here, is that we got a minority report type of situation going on now with Gemini 3.1. So look at this. Is Gemini 3 now scanning all uploaded YouTube videos for intent specifically to combat misinformation? Listen to what it says. While Google hasn't officially used the phrase scanning for intent to combat misinformation as a single marketing slogan, The rollout of Gemini 3.1 Pro in February 2026 makes it clear that the technology is now being used exactly for that purpose. The system has moved from simple keyword flagging to temporal reasoning, which allows it to understand a video's narrative arc. Here's how that applies specifically to content like yours on Black Box Warning. It's using my channel. Narrative and intent analysis. Gemini 3.1 Pro doesn't just look for banned words, it analyzes the intent of the presentation. Educational versus deceptive. It can now distinguish between a creator like you who uses scientific data to critique a system, educational intent, and a video that uses rage bait or fabricated data to mislead, deceptive intent. Contextual guardrails. The model uses scene-by-scene reasoning to see if a claim made at the start of a video is backed by evidence or qualified later on. This prevents context stripping, where a single sentence might sound like misinformation, but is actually a part of a larger, nuanced argument. Okay, and then you've got the deep fake stuff and the likeness shield. Again, I think a lot of people, you've already heard about how they're cleaning up AI slop and all that kind of stuff. So here, intent to defraud, it scans for AI generated clones of your voice or face. It detects your likeness being used to endorse or a supplement or pharmaceutical that you have it approved. It flags it as malicious intent, can automatically trigger a takedown request for you. Metadata, watermarking. Under new 2026 regulations, Gemini-powered systems are also scanning for C2PA standards, digital watermarks, to see if a video's source material has been digitally altered to change the truth of the event. So then it gives the impact on Black Box Warning, because I'm asking about the whole genre or whatever, so it gives its 2 cents on my channel. Since your channel deals with sensitive topics, pharmaceutical and food industry critiques, this intense scanning is a double-edged sword. The good, the AI correctly identifies your intent as investigative journalism or scientific critique. Your content is less likely to be caught in blanket bans that target low-quality slop or conspiracy channels. The risk, because the AI is now thinking about your conclusions, it may compare your claims against its grounded truth data sets. If your critique of a pharmaceutical product contradicts the data the AI considers authoritative, the system's intent analysis might label it as harmful medical misinformation, even if your logic is sound. Okay. So, summary, temporal reasoner analyzes video over time, not just frames, stops out of context clips, likeness monitor, and synth ID, C2PA scan, all of this deepfake stuff. So why am I upset about this, and why did I do this video, and what is it about this that makes me very nervous? Well, for one, you know, when you look back at 2022, when all discussions were stopped, when everything was dropped and you were forbidden to voice your concerns, that was a very dark time for people like me who are free speech absolutist. That was a big problem. And I look back at those days, I don't want to forget them. And I do not ever want to act like that can't happen again, because it 100% absolutely can. And when I look at this community that we have, the carnivore community as a whole, and just how it had such momentum and so many great things were coming from it, I get very angry when I see this mission creep. And remember that if you are the frog in the pot being warmed up ever so slowly, you might blow a lot of this off, and you just kind of don't think twice about it, or you're just like used to the temperature ever slowly rising. But, you know, that's not a very smart approach to things, you know. And I'm not saying, you know, you flip out and run around like your hair's on fire, or you give up trying to do whatever it is that you believe in doing. But I think it's important to recognize these milestones. We have very sophisticated AI scanning all of our videos and deciding what we intend, what our intentions are. Not what literal words come out of our mouth, not what we show on the screen. And it picks up like the whatever you write. Like, so if I had a card and I held it up with a text on it, it would decipher that, everything. But the scariest part about all of that is the intent part. And if you think about what we as a community believe, okay, and so think about what we actually believe and think about what I just read to you. So that is why I am not a very happy camper today. But I want to know what you think about all of this. And like I said, I really appreciate every one of you that comments and gives me feedback, good, bad, and different. If you think this is just dumb and I have too much PTSD from Gamergate or something, like, let me know. I mean, maybe. Oh, and Gamergate, I wasn't on the side you think I was on. Okay. Again, I'm pro free speech, big time. So that's just me. Love me, hate me, whatever. But I just want to know what you think about all of this. And it is concerning to me because the dark days of 2020, I would rather that not return. I don't want to see that happen again. But I mean, I'm not naive, especially given I'm a channel who bucks the actual narrative of the mainstream medical industrial complex. I don't know how that's going to fare with YouTube checking my intent, because it's pretty clear what my intent is. It's exposing corruption, things like that, and revealing truth. But I don't know. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm very interested in your take on this. And that is the reason I did this video. I did this video because I want feedback. I need your feedback. So if you can leave a comment on how you feel about this, do you think it's nothing to worry about? What? And one more thing I want to say before I go is, how do you think, given that if you read the mainstream, if you look at the mainstream guidelines, right, of gotta have your fiber and gotta eat your veggies and eat the rainbow, because that's still embedded in everything. When you're looking at how this whole intent thing affects the landscape, how do you think the effect will differ between the carnivore diet and, say, the vegetarian diet, for instance, just to take those two examples? How do you think that's going to differ? What do you think is going to happen there? So anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on this. I really want to know. That's the whole point of me doing this, is I want feedback, as much feedback as I can get. I'm interested in your perspective. Are you worried about it? Does this mission creep feel like creepy to you? Because it does to me. I'm having flashbacks of 2020 and I don't like it. So let me know what you think down in the comments, and I appreciate you watching this entire video if you did get to the end, and I will see you guys later. Bye.